Hey YouTube, this is Charisma and this is my healing journey. Today's topic of discussion is why black men hate black women. Before we get started, I just want to thank everyone who's liked, commented, subscribed. If you're new to my channel is a safe place for survivors of any type of abuse. Um, and just my safe place as well. And if you're new, like, comment, subscribe. If you are returning, thank you so much for your support. Okay, let's get into it. Black men do hate black women. I've seen it time and time again in my own experiences and the experiences of my sisters, of my black sisters. Just the utter just level of disrespect for a black woman's womanhood. How if they're not disrespecting us, they're trying to finesse us. If they're not finessing us, they're trying to get over and live off of us and pimp us out and just really commodify the black woman and her body. Now, this isn't new in the world at large at all. I mean, we go back to Sarah Bartman and how her large behind was she was basically treated like an animal at a zoo, going from place to place, being exhibited, being prostituted, until she died of disease and just fatigue and just exhaustion. And then once she died, not being able to be laid to rest, and her bones and her remains once again being disrespected. Okay, so as it pertains to African American women and men, because that's my point of reference, because I am African American, I can honestly say, um, in my experience, my first abuser, and many, I don't know how many women can relate to this. Usually, your first abusers in your household, it can be your brother, it can be your brother, it can be your father, it can be your grandfather, your cousins. And by abuse, I don't mean necessarily just sexual abuse. Like, for instance, you could be overweight and they're constantly making you feel less than, calling you names because of your weight, because you don't fit to the aesthetic of the day, which is really disgusting when you think of it, because you're my relative. Why do I have to look cute? Why is it important that I'm cute? But that shows you where the mentality is not to protect a black woman, but to exploit a black woman. And I will tell you, in my opinion, what the number one reason why that is, because a lot of black men deal with self-hatred of self. They've been conditioned in the penitentiaries, being in the penitentiaries, and we know how hard it is for a brother. We get that. I know that, and I know it's real. So when you have these black men going into the penitentiary, their manhood, a lot of times their manhood is stripped of their manhood, by white supremacy. So they come out of the penitentiary very damaged. A lot of them having homosexual relationships with one another. Um, and if that's how they get down, but just being degraded. And if you want to go even further back into slavery, the degradation of the black man even during slavery is nothing more than a buck to impregnate um, black women. They actually had breeding farms, and this is dehumanizing. I'm sure they deal with a lot of trauma too. And it's you can be both a victim and a perpetrator. Your victimhood doesn't negate you or exonerate you being a perpetrator at the same time, though. So let's get into that. So who's the only person that the black man can safely take his anger and frustration out on? It's the black woman. I've seen it time and time again. I've experienced it. I've literally just walked. I tell you something that happened to me not too long ago in my new city. I was pumping gas, and this guy, black guy, pulled up, and as I was pumping gas, he demanded, "Hey, bitch, you need to move so I can pump my gas." Literally, I was there first. I felt afraid for my life. I'm like, you need to leave me alone. I'm sitting here trying to pump my gas. You need to wait till I'm done. Like, if you can't pull up, you could easily just back out and go to another pump if you're in that much of a hurry. But you literally see me in the process of pumping my gas. You need to leave me alone. He pulled out his phone, started recording me, talking about, "Hey, look at this crazy bitch." There was another man, and at this point, I'm scared. I'm making a lot of noise at this point because if I don't make some noise, this man's liable to run up on me, shoot me, hit me, and what's so it hurts every time. It's not surprising, but it doesn't. But it's not surprising, but it still hurts every single time. How another brother pulled up, looked at the situation. He wasn't even concerned about this hatred and vitriol that the other dude was spewing at me. He was busy watching my reactions, clocking and seeing what I was going to do. He wasn't worried about another man, harassing another woman. It took another woman to pull up and tell him, "Leave her alone. Leave her alone." And everybody's like, "Well, why didn't you call the police?" People have said that. Because by the time I called the police, I could have been done pumping my gas. And if I did call the police, you think the police, Karen, they're going to see me as some type of culprit, because there's always this mentality that Black women somehow deserve the abuse that they get because we're loud, we're abrasive, and we deserve it. That's always, even now, like I can see it in the numbers of my videos talking about how my ex-husband abused me. They hardly they're not even getting no views, and it's sad because every day a Black woman is getting abused. Every day she's getting killed, maimed somehow. And a lot of times the person doing it is the Black man. And all you got to do is type on YouTube, "the Black woman this, the Black woman that." Kevin Samuels, he was the leader of the pack, spewing that type of hatred towards Black women, towards the Black women who have given you birth, number one. And I've heard tales of a lot of these men, the cop out is, "Oh, they're just so traumatized. It's trauma by how they were raised, what their mother did to them, this, that, and the third." Okay, but what about, even if that is the case, what about the auntie that stepped up? Okay, what about grandma who stepped up? It's always been a one. And then on top of that, every time somebody gets killed, every time a George Floyd gets killed, every time a Trayvon Martin gets killed, who's up in arms? Who's leading the pack, marching on behalf of the Black man? Who always do it? That's the expectation, honestly. Like, you better not fight for me, but who's fighting for the Black woman? Who's gonna fight for me? Who's fighting for me? It's to the point where, and I can't even, if I see a Black man, I try to go the other way. Like, it's to that point. Like, I have to go the other way. I try not to make eye contact, because you don't know if this dude's on one, if he's on drugs, if he's, trying to, he wants sex from you. He think he can just get it because he's entitled to it, or maybe he's mad, so he want to beat up on somebody, and who easier to do that to than a Black woman? Okay, so I know that a lot of times in my trauma, honestly, I can say that I took a lot off of men, because I was conditioned to take abuse from men. I thought that was all that was available to me, because that's all I saw being done to other Black women. That's all that was done to me. The first time I ever got physically hit by a male, I was 10 years old, and he was my age. And I can't remember him even getting in trouble. Not even after I had to fight. I had to fight him to get him off of me. And because I was beating him up, he went and got a knife and was about to stab me. I had to run for my life. And it's story after story after story I could tell you. I'm not just saying this just for fun, just to have something to say. I'm saying this because it's a state of emergency. Too many black women are getting killed. It can be a man that you've had a child by. And it's like, darn if you do, darn if you don't, because if you stay there abusing, if you try to leave, then they gonna kill you for leaving. It took me I've had to go and get restraining orders on dudes to get them to leave me alone, because when I was dealing with them, they were sexually assaulting me, they were abusing me, they were putting hands on me, but yet I'm trying to pull back. You won't leave me alone. I'm not the punching bag of the black man. I'm not. I refuse to allow it anymore. And here's my thing. Okay, if all a man sees in me is someone, a black man sees in me as someone he can use and he can abuse and he can get that frustrations out on safely, I'd rather not deal with a man at all. I can do bad by myself. I will, for the rest of my life, I will not have a man. Like, I'm cool. Who needs that? I choose peace. I choose peace and quiet. Like, since I'm being where I'm at and don't have to worry about my ex-husband and the dude after my ex-husband, like, I've never felt so much peace in the absence of a man. Like, I'm good with that. I'm pouring into myself. And the thing is, I feel like it's not the only way. It's not the only thing that needs. It's gonna take hundreds of years for it to stop, or it may never stop. But I think I'm doing my part by not allowing those types of individuals into my life. Like, no matter how charming, no matter how suave, no matter how nice they seem, if I see red flags, if I see them early signs that this is somebody who's going to abuse me and mistreat me, like, I owe it to myself to get out of that situation as quickly as possible. And not put up with it. And I feel like if enough women was like, enough is enough and put their foot down, I feel like that would pave the way for a lot of change, because these men, we're talking specifically about black men, they would have to change. They would have to, because number one, you ain't gonna get none. You ain't gonna get no sex disrespecting me or any other woman, let alone anything else. They gonna have to know that there's consequences for their behavior, for their actions, and that the consequence is you don't get access to any woman, specifically if you want to abuse and mistreat a black woman. And the consequences need to be jail time. A lot of times it needs to be jail. It needs to be probation, because a lot of times it's not that. You try to call the police, you be the one locked up. They be done locked both of y'all up. They don't believe, they don't care, because the system of white supremacy is like, it's to the point where the system is running so smoothly without the presence and with the absence of white people having to abuse and kill black people. And we're doing it to one another now. We do it to each other. They don't gotta do nothing. So you think they really gonna trip on a black man beating the living daylights out of a black woman? Good. Beat that black heifer's ass. Good. Kill her. And let's take her babies and put them in the system and steal their organs and, put them in juvie, and there's the prison to school to prison pipeline. Like, nobody cares. We got to care, though. We know the world doesn't care. I started caring. I started loving myself enough to protect myself as best as I can. Sometimes there's a lot of black guys out here don't understand nothing but force. If I gotta get a gun permit, if I gotta start, going to the gun range, learning how to shoot, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do by any means necessary. I'm gonna protect myself, because it's too many women out here dying, whether it be random or whether it be from a lover, anything. And they don't care about any woman, whether she be black, white, blue, or purple. They don't care about any woman being beat up. But specifically, there's no care, there's no concern, there's no compassion for the black woman. And a lot of it is being perpetuated by the black man. But I will tell you one thing first, and this is my last point, and I'm gonna wrap this up. The number one thing is white supremacy has taught us how to hate ourselves. So if you don't like what you see in the mirror, what makes you think a black man is gonna love or have affection for a black woman if he don't even like that? If he don't even like himself? You know, you can't love nobody else if you don't love you. Period. So once again, I owe it to myself, like regardless of what black men doing out here, regardless of the messages that I get that black women are low down, they're dirty, they're worthless, they're this, I owe it to myself to pour into myself and love into myself, you know. And if that means, it saddens me that, hey, I might not never have children because I refuse to bring a child into a terrible situation. I'm not going to do it. That's the saddest part about it. But honest to God, I can live without a man using me, abusing me, hurting me. And you know what? I don't care if he's a black man. Like, I have no sympathy, no care and concern for somebody who's going to hurt me, and that's all they see fit to do to me. You know, and the next time you get killed, the next time you get locked up, don't call me. Don't call me. Call call Becky. Call Jenny from the block. Call them. Don't call me because I'm busy riding off to Sunset living my best life. And that's just is what it is. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Anyways, thank you so much if you made it this far. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, this is Charisma, and this is my healing journey. Peace.